If you run your own business, but you find that you have an uneasy relationship with money, maybe even you find yourself at times being judgmental or wondering, how can you have a positive impact on this planet and make good money? Then today is the perfect conversation for you. Welcome to Amplify Your Success podcast. I am your host, Melanie Benson. I'm an authority amplifier. I'm founder of a coaching program, Authority Accelerator, and an extraordinary collaborative community called the Rising Tide Collective. And I'm a new Substacker too, my friends. I am now running the Growth Fuel Substack, where we have some amazing conversations that I'll share some of them with you over here. Now, I have a guest today who I got a little taste of her on social media, and I was like, oh, snap. I feel like this is a conversation we should be having over here as well. And I can't wait to dig into this, but let me give her an official introduction. Her name is Melissa Mittelstaedt. She is an accredited financial counselor and a consultant who walks alongside passion led entrepreneurs on their getting comfy with money journey. Her financial story truly began when she suddenly realized that life after college couldn't be forged on student loans and credit card debt alone. And as Melissa and I were in the green room, she also told me she has a very interesting start to her business because she was sharing some things with me, and I watched her signing with her hands. And I was like, wait, do you do sign language too? So, Melissa, welcome to the show. I have a feeling you have all kinds of cool things to share with us today, and I can't wait to dig in.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you everybody for being here. I can't wait to dive into the conversation.
Yeah. Well, and first of all, a little shout out to social media. I know a lot of you are super burned out on social media. It's one of the reasons why I'm really loving what's happening on Substack. And I make some pretty amazing connections, like with Melissa on threads and the social media world. And so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just learn how to tap in and use it the way that lights you up. And meeting cool people like Melissa is one of the ways that lights me up. So, anyway, just want to give a little plug for that. But I want to bring something into the conversation that we were exploring as we got ready for today. And that's we're having quite an evolution of energy on this planet right now. If you follow the energy people, astrology, energy field, and all of that, you're hearing about the different transformations that we're going through on this planet. If you don't follow any of that, you probably have felt it. You felt it in your pocketbook. Melissa, as we are entering this really radical time of change and transformation on this planet, what does that mean in the context of money for us?
Now is the perfect time to take a moment and think about what does your relationship to money look like? I have some folks who will come to me and say, I want to control my money. And then I back out for a second and say, well, if you have a relationship with your best friend or with your spouse, would you ever say like, oh, I can't wait to control my spouse or I can't wait to control my best friend? Like we wouldn't say that. That isn't the type of relationships that we're looking to build. We're looking to build something that has positive energy flowing from both directions. And that's the lens that we need to look at our money through, especially in this time. We want to say, what does our relationship with money look like now? And what do we want that relationship to look like?
Hmm. And just in the spirit of what energy we hold around money, I think a lot of us right now, whether you've been in business a really long time, or maybe you're newer in business, or maybe you work for someone else right now, I think all of us are hyper aware of money and
Mhm.
what's changing around money in the economy and in maybe our specific industry. There's a lot of industries that are being really impacted by a lot of change.
Yeah.
How, as a human being, you mentioned like we need to look at how we are with money, but How, as a human being, do we need to take responsibility or ownership of that? Like, why do we need to do this work? Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. So when we take a look at how our relationship with money is and how we're handling our money, we know that that's the crux of our day-to-day operations. We're in business to make money, and then making that money supports a life that we love.
Mm.
So money is the through line for all of that. So not only do we need to have a healthy relationship with money, but we also have to look at what does that look like fundamentally in how I'm operating my business and how I'm operating in my household. So when I talk about that, I talk about what's our financial routine look like? How often are you looking at your numbers at the macro level versus the micro level? Like what does that process look like in your business and your life? Because the way I talk about money is across four prongs: our business finances, our personal finances, our tactical approaches, and our spiritual approaches. And with that holistic lens, each one of those pieces needs to have effort. It needs to have attention. We can't just do one or the other, skip this, skip that.
Mm. So I know, because I've been studying this for 40 years, that energy is a very big influence on money.
Mhm.
Now, it's interesting because a lot of people who are conscious or do spiritual work or very impact driven, they oftentimes have a very interesting relationship with money, right? So
Mhm.
you can actually be very heart driven and very soulful, but could potentially be having a view of money that's creating constriction around money.
Mhm.
When
100%.
yeah, so when somebody's in that dance with money,
Mhm.
what's going on for them that maybe they need to become aware of because it's in their blind spot?
Yeah. A lot of the stories that were told about money and what we've seen societally is money increases greed. Money leads to exploitation of people. Money leads to overusing our planet's resources. And so those stories that we have not only bared witness to, but are constantly fed, we have to find the different stories. We have to find the stories about who is doing amazing things with their money. Let's look at the Dolly Partons of the world. Like, this woman could be a billionaire, but isn't, because her philanthropic efforts are just like off the charts with her imagination library, with her funding of the COVID vaccine. Like, she is an exemplary human of like, this is what we could do with our money. So those folks who would identify as conscious individuals, and that money piece is like, oh, but if I admit, or if I announce, or if I'm willing to say that, yeah, money is a piece of what I'm doing, then that can be scary, and that can be like, oh, people are going to just then associate me with the greed and the exploitation, when we're the ones, the conscious entrepreneurs, the conscious business owners, we're the ones who have got to change that narrative about money. So instead of us being the ones shying away from it, we need to be the ones who are stepping toward it in a very like, okay, we're going to change the narrative way.
Hmm. Yeah, what I heard when we were kind of exploring this in the green room is, like that old saying that the microcosm shifts the macrocosm, or it's a reflection of the macrocosm. And so what gets me really excited about this conversation we're having is, what if, as human beings who are conscious, who want to make a positive impact in the world, we could shift the macrocosm, we could literally influence what's happening at the collective level by shifting how we are with money and what our relationship is with money. And I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. Because the more we are the ones that are leading the story, the more we're the ones on social media sharing how we talk about money, how we feel about money, how it moves. The more visible we are in how we're interacting with money, the more change is going to happen quicker in the microcosm to then affect the macro system of it all. So
Hmm.
exactly that. Like we've got to be the one taking the steps and being more visible about it.
Well, I love that you're bringing visibility into it because I'm a huge fan of the visibility, and I'm like getting super excited inside about the idea that if we, as positive, powerful leaders who are impact driven and have a healthy relationship with money, we're more visible and we were amplifying that visibility. Imagine what we could shift on the macro level of our society, especially right now as we're in this up leveling as a society and as a world.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. Because if if we're just making changes, within our own life, amazing. Within our first circle of, business besties, amazing. But if we're not talking about it, if we're not willing to dialogue about it on socials or on our Substacks or any of that, then it's not a visible piece to everybody else. It's like,
Mm.
yes, there will be a ripple effect, but let's like amplify that ripple effect and let's give it the chance to really meet the moment that we're in the energy shift.
I'm just wondering if you have an example of something tactical level or something that somebody could relate to as when you shift your relationship with money like this, you're going to be able to affect the bigger sphere of money in the world.
Yeah. So when I think about, I'll just take like with the clients that I'm working with, and when I think about on a one-to-one level in shifting their relationship with money, how they operate with money. Now they're showing up in conversations differently when they're talking to strategic partners about the money implications, when they're talking to their clients about the money piece. Like inside of a sales call, if money was like easy and comfortable to you, great. Now we're just rattling it off and we're just talking facts versus like, oh no, now I've got to talk about how much and then that's weird. And then they're gonna, and what's their mindset gonna be? And well, when we can get to that place of a healthy relationship with money, then we're changing the conversations that we're having with people that we're interacting with on a day-to-day basis inside our business.
Okay, so this is very powerful. So, what I heard you say is things like you're going to have a different kind of conversation with a potential strategic partner, where instead of kind of having it laced with the sense of like, oh my God, I need this to work, it's like it's empowered with this is an amplification strategy of something I already do well. So, we're growing with more potent financial abundance, or you're having a sales conversation and instead of like I need this sale to close, you're coming from a if this is the right opportunity for both of us, I'm confident we'll be able to move it forward. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And it removes that second guessing, that doubt, that fear. Because in any conversation, someone's going to come to the table with their own money mindset. We're
Hmm.
never going to be able to interpret that or change that, or that's not our role. What they come to the table with in regard to money, that's not for us to know. But what is for us to know is how we're projecting that conversation, which then helps lead the other side of that dialogue.
Mm. Love that. I want to talk about something that I know is up for a lot of people, and it could create a negative charge for somebody who's in it, and that's debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people when time is good, money flows.
Yeah.
And when, maybe sales are down and debt has stacked up, that fear can eat you alive.
Mm-hmm.
How could somebody tap into what you're talking about today and shift their relationship with money into a healthy way?
Mm,
while they're carrying what might feel like an enormous amount of debt. Or is
yeah.
that even possible? Maybe it's not
No,
possible. I don't know.
it is possible. I'm gonna take you back to my story. In my bio, you said I came out of college after 7 years. I got my bachelor's degree and then I got my associate's degree after that. I know that's backwards, but there's a story there. Um, but I came out of school and I got my first real job and I was in so much debt. It equates to about $78,000 in today's dollars. And during that time, until I decided I have got to make a plan for this. I really just felt like I was drowning in it. That fear, that shame, that guilt, that scarcity like was completely surrounding me. So I know exactly what that feels like. And the process that I went through to get myself out of that, it was solely based in it was kind of like the diet fatting of money, right? It was just like restrict yourself, don't do this, don't be seen in a restaurant if you've got debt, yada, 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 yada. So I got myself out of debt, but absolutely destroyed my relationship with money in the midst of doing that. But there is a healthier way to make it happen by looking at the data and not cutting out the things that still bring you joy. So when I work with my clients in regard to debt, like we make sure that we talk about like, okay, yeah, you'll have to make some hard decisions, but how do we not strip the full joy of money in the process? So we continue the conversation of, okay, well, what are you spending money on that you just like absolutely value? Like what's still like bringing that sense of excitement in your life, whether that's in your business or in your day-to-day life, but we have to figure out how to do those things simultaneously because if you just focus on the debt and get yourself entrenched there, your relationship money with money isn't going to survive that. But if you're just in the, well, I got to focus on just spending the money and you, okay, well, then you may just be digging yourself deeper into the debt. So being
Mhm.
able to look at both parts of that and finding a plan that like feels good on both sides.
I think that's so powerful, and what a wonderful way to move through the releasing of debt, the paying off of debt while staying in a good dynamic with money. And I mean, I'm not a stranger to being in debt. Like that was kind of my family legacy is like you're in debt. And really having to look at how to navigate that from a integrating the two dynamics of money was very powerful. And it's almost like when we can handle the energy, of both sides of that equation, we empower money differently versus just
Mm-hmm.
constricting. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that we're having this conversation about it.
Yeah,
And
100%. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and like this leads me to this something that you had talked about online is our nervous system and money. And I know debt can destroy your nervous system, especially when it feels unchecked and out of control and you have zero idea what to do about it. But I'm really curious. Like, I want to talk a little bit and leave our listeners today with maybe a couple of tips, especially if your nervous system is really fragmented and disconnected because of your relationship with money up to now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about two things. First one being gratitude. So I don't know if you've read the book Happy Money. It's by Ken Honda, and he interviews all these millionaires, I think maybe even a few billionaires. Um, and he really boils it down to the phrase arigato in, arigato out, which means thank your money coming in and to thank your money coming out. And I think one of the things that we as a society get ourselves into is like we get so excited when we see that money coming in, right? You're like, yes, I saw that Stripe payment. Yes, I saw that Thrive card. Yes, I saw. And then so you're looking at all the money coming in and excited. But then when you're paying for your Zoom or you're paying for, then it's like, ugh, I don't want to, But when we only are giving gratitude to one side of that, that like puts a kink in in the energetic flow of our money. So we've got to be so grateful when it comes in and then so grateful when it goes out. So that's tip number one that I love to share is to see if you can catch yourself in those moments where it's like, oh, I've got to pay for this, or you see the money go out and it just kind of like gives you a flip in your stomach or something. Catch yourself and then find some way, like for example, your phone bill. Like I'm so grateful, like for me, I get to FaceTime with my nieces or something, like find something that can kick into gratitude. And then secondly, I don't know if you're into EFT tapping or not, but I love to use that as an energetic clearing. So if someone gets into a space, like if I'm in the midst of a client call and I'm noticing that there's something happening there, we'll pause and then we'll immediately go to our karate chop point. I'm not perfect with money, but I love and accept myself. I'm not perfect with money, but I love and accept myself. And we'll move through our meridian points, just trying to clear whatever it is. Like if it was a sales call that went bad, right? We can go to our eyebrow and be like, okay, I'm in the middle of learning how to do sales calls. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this on purpose. Yeah, and just be able to flush some of those things out. And so that way it kind of gives you both mental with the thankfulness and a somatic with the tapping.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And I think we forget, or maybe some people just haven't learned yet that, money is energy, but energy lives in our world and in our body and in our experience in different facets. And so if you can have different ways to access and shift our feelings and our energetic state around money, it shifts things. Like there was a time when, I had hit this huge high in my business, but we had that 2009 financial topple, and like
Yep.
I lost like $40,000 overnight because we couldn't clear the credit cards, and I was panicked. And
Mhm.
it was just like the beginning of a whole bunch of things that went sideways and this little perfect storm. And my energy body was frozen.
Yeah.
And I had to learn a lot of these tools to shift my energy body so I could hold money again
Yeah.
and I could let it flow. And all I kept seeing when you're talking, Lissa, was, gratitude in, gratitude out is like the infinity symbol,
Mm-hmm.
and how if we can really fully embrace the idea that money's always flowing in and out and there's an abundance in that, and just recognize like that Enneagram, or not the Enneagram, now I can't think of what I just called it.
Infinity symbol.
Infinity symbol. Yes, thank
Yes.
you. The
Yes.
infinity symbol is just a way of imagining how money flows in and out. It doesn't flow out. It doesn't stay out. It comes back when we have that healthy relationship, right?
Yeah, I love that visual. I love it. Yes, money comes back.
What would you say is your favorite book about money and mindset?
So I love being asked, how many do you want me to share? Okay, I'm gonna go with The Having,
Hmm.
The Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich by Su Young Lee and Yu Jung Hong. This this book, when I read the book, it's a little, I use the word abstract, but I'll just leave that there. It's a little abstract, but it's so beautiful in the way the story shapes the simplicity of money and how complicated we sometimes make it. It's
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah. Now, this is going to really sound strange, but one of mine is a book by Dr. Raymond Halliwell, Working with the Law.
Mm,
There's so many exquisite books. This is old text. I actually grew up in his church, and Raymond Halliwell was a mentor to Bob Proctor, if you don't know that.
I did not.
And that book is so powerful. That book unraveled my constriction around money.
Mm.
And I now am going to go get your book you just suggested because I love reading really powerful money mindset books. Because when we need to remind ourselves, which is often for some of us, of the
Yeah.
truth of money, of success, of any of it, like turning to a book, a podcast, a mentor, a guide, a tool, that's how we stay plugged into expansiveness rather than constricting.
Mm.
So, Melissa, I'm so grateful that you could join me today and bring some gems and some wisdom and maybe a new perspective for some of our amplifiers today about how we could be with money. That it's not just about shifting our reality, but what if we could actually shift the collective reality? Like to me, that fires me up. That gets me
Yes,
excited.
you and me both.
I love it. So where would be a great place to let our listeners know more about you? If there's a resource that's a good next step.
hmm so in the show notes, I'm going to have a resource around your relationship with money. It kind of guides you through a few exercises. So you can start there. That's a great place if you're really trying to pinpoint, well, what first step does my relationship with money need? That's a great place to start. And then my website, melissamitt.com/links will have all the other ways to get in touch with me.
I love it. Yeah, we will link all that up in the show notes, amplifiers, because I want you to have all the great resources. And now you know an amazing mentor that you can also choose if you're ready to shift your dynamics and create a healthier relationship with money. As we close out today, I just want to ask you, Melissa, really quickly.
Mhm.
I really believe we're all here making some kind of ripple in the world, some kind of positive impact. What do you want yours to be?
I want my ripple effect to be money is a tool for us to make great change. And we've got to be willing to say yes and to embrace that.
Beautiful. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, that's so powerful. Sorry, were you complete?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you, amplifiers, for listening. Thank you, Melanie, for allowing me to be here. I just, anytime someone says yes to a conversation about money, it just lights me up from the inside out.
Me too. Especially when when we can learn like money is really just energy. Like we can move that energy and we can shift our relationship with energy. So I'm so psyched. And I want to thank you all for tuning in today. I love our Amplify community. This episode, this conversation has kind of lit a fire in me. And if it's lit a fire in you, I want to hear how you're going to shift your relationship with money after today's episode. And what's the aha that you got from Melissa? And it would mean the world to me if you would share this episode of the show. Give us a little tag, like follow Melissa online, follow me online, give us a little shout out wherever you're listening. Let us know what popped for you, share the episode. And at a minimum, head over to Apple Podcast. And if you would review and rate the show, that is such a beautiful contribution to the Amplify Your Success podcast. Now, I want to leave you with one thought. We're tackling a lot of these growth oriented conversations on my Growth Fuel channel on Substack. I'll make sure that's linked up as well. Join me over in the Growth Field community there. We're having a lot of these conversations live and then sharing them afterwards with you here, but you can get in on these conversations live with the experts themselves. So join me there as well at Substack, Growth Fuel, or Coach Melanie Benson. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you. I'll see you on Substack.
Yes, you will.